To start this lesson off, I want to change this font size up here real quick to be a little bit smaller like this is. So I learned how to change this in the last lesson. I found this UL class here, and I want to give it a font size of, I think, 13 pixels. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so let's go over here, CSS, bust this out real quick. Our unordered list with a class in nav, font size 13 pixels. Boom. Reload the page, and we're good. All right, better there. And now for this lesson, I want to talk about spacing and getting this, to have better spacing and look better like this is. You can see the differentiation in the H1 and the paragraph, and it's just easier on the eye. So in order to do that, we're going to talk about the box model. Earlier, I showed you that all divs are boxes. Well, what I didn't tell you is that every HTML element is a box. You can see this H1 here, see this paragraph here. So box model is comprised of 4 different things. You have the HTML element itself, then you have the padding, you have the border, you have the margin. And it helps with spacing so that you can create your site to make it look however you want it. So let's give it some padding, 10 pixels. Let's give it some border. We'll go 5 pixels solid. Let's give it some margin, 10 pixels. All right. And also, just to give you a visual, we'll give you background color gray. All right. So what does all this mean? So we can come down here and check out this HTML element, this H1's box model here. The blue here is the HTML element itself. Then you have the padding, which we gave 10 pixels. All around the HTML element is the green. All right. Then the border is highlighted here in a yellow, but we made it black in the actual CSS. And then you have the margin, which is orange, at 10 pixels all the way around, represented by orange here. So inside of the border, you have padding and you have the HTML element. And outside of the border, you have the margin. The reason why they do this is sometimes, say you wanted the spacing here. You had this, and you did want to give it this gray background, but you didn't know whether to use margin or padding. And see how this kind of comes up, right next to the line. It doesn't look too good, so we wanted to give it a little padding. So by we wanted to give it some spacing, but we wanted to, get this background color. We didn't want it to be spacing up here. We wanted to be within this background color. So we use padding for that because padding is within the border. So it'll increase that background color. And then margin is outside of the border. All right. So you see the difference between padding, margin, border. Let's reload this page. And what we want to do is get some spacing here. So we see that this is higher up than it is here. So let's inspect that. You can see here, we have this H1 scrolled over, that there's margin to the top. So we could eliminate that. But also, I remember from our CSS document earlier that we did a padding of 50 pixels to the top. And the Jumbotron right here from Bootstrap's document gave us a padding of 48 pixels. Okay, so it's keeping within the background stuff. What I'm going to do just to make this simple is go with making the margin top here 0 pixels. All right, so we pushed it up, and that was for the H1 of the Jumbo class. And we're going to say margin top 0 pixels. And the reason why I showed you the 3 different things between margin top here, we could mess with the padding of the Jumbotron or the body is just to show you that there's always different ways to achieve the same design style, and they each have their pluses and their minuses, and sometimes it doesn't really matter. So in this case, we're going to stay with making the H1 style a margin top of 0 pixels. Okay, and I introduced you to before, a way to say margin 5 pixels, and it would do it all around. See how it's all the orange is the same width all the way around, and we did it with padding too. So now all the green is the same width all the way around, and you can also do 2 variables or 2 numbers here. So 20 pixels, 10 pixels, and now you see how the green is thicker up top than it is on the left and the right. So the first number of 20 pixels is top and bottom padding, and then the second number is left and right padding. So you have 10 on the left and the right, you have 20 on the top and the bottom. You can also do 4 variables. So, and when you do 4 variables, it reads like a clock. So you start up at the top at 12, and it's 20 pixels. Then you go to the right, it's 10 pixels, 3 o'clock. Then you go to the bottom, 6 o'clock, and it's 30 pixels. And then you can see the most green over to the left, 40 pixels at 9 o'clock. All right. So those are different ways to implement, margin or padding, and they both, get implemented the same way. So you can see the effects with margin now. 20, 10, 30, 40. So let's take that out. But in this case, we're just going to say margin top, because you can also do them singularly. Margin top, margin bottom, padding bottom. So we're going to do it singularly. Margin top, 0 pixels. So let's go over here. Margin top, 0 pixels. Reload the page. We're good here. All right, so now I want some spacing down here below. So I want to, let's try 30 pixels. We need more than that. Let's go with 50 pixels. So 50 pixels. And then for the paragraph, I want to have, and we'll go ahead and do it for all paragraphs because this is going to be a paragraph as well, as you can tell, and we want spacing between that and the image. So let's go and say margin bottom 30 pixels. See what that looks like. Yeah, that should be about perfect. So margin bottom 30 pixels, and we also had dot Jumbotron P and I did that quick change there, 50 pixels here for the H1s. And now reload the page. All right, all looks the same. Check out here. You can see the cascading coming into effect as our custom style sheet overwrites the Bootstrap provided margin bottom CSS property for Jumbotron P. All right, so you learned about the box model and the difference between margin, padding, and how to apply margin and padding in different ways to HTML elements. And we have the site looking good here. Now let's go ahead and add in the images that we're missing to get this top section done.